Well, it looks like this topic's been thoroughly beat to death. I've been avoiding taking part in it, but I'm kind of at that point now where I don't want to be Nero while Rome burns. Given recent events, let's go ahead and roll that intro. Alright, no fan art on this one because I know this is going to be a bit of a sensitive subject, and if somebody did not want their fan art in particular attached to this video, I can completely understand. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and catch everybody up on what's transpired so far. The first event we need to cover is a Twitter poll that Stephen Woodford, or better known as Rationality Rules, posted a while back. This poll is what led him to do the video on trans athletes. The next event we have is Rationality Rules publishing of his video on trans athletes. A lot of people have asked my opinion on it, and I think that he misapplied science in this video because he used a lot of science that applies to only cisgender people and then tried to apply that to trans athletes on the whole. He also used a handful of anecdotal bits in order to make his case and then ended with very alarmist rhetoric. The ultimate narrative at the end of this video was one that could be easily seen as transphobic, and I can understand that point of view. Now, do I think Stephen himself is transphobic? No. Do I think that he actually meant the video to come across that way? No. I think that he honestly did what he thought was his due diligence. The next major event to happen in our story is Essence of Thought taking apart this video bit by bit in a 40-minute dissertation on their channel. In Essence of Thought's video, we have a little bit of the same alarmist rhetoric, though I can understand the reason it was used. Essence of Thought calls Stephen's audience alt-light in an effort to get him to see the type of audience that this material can be used for. While I don't agree with the method, I can understand the thought process behind that method. So far, everyone in this situation has been an honest interlocutor. Stephen did his best, Essence of Thought showed where they were wrong, but then we moved to Twitter. This is where a bit of the dumpster fire has started to go, well, out of hand. Because of his actions on Twitter, we are starting to see a lot of people flat out calling Stephen Woodford a transphobe, even if that couldn't be further from the truth. And I know that I'm going to have two different people in the audience who are going to say two very ignorant things. The first one is going to be the person who says that a transphobe is someone who's afraid of trans people, and Stephen is not that. And to that person, I would say that the working definition of transphobe is very much the same as the working definition of homophobe we have in common parlance. Though phobe is used at the end, denoting a phobia, it does not have anything to do with fear. This has everything to do with prejudice and not about fear. The second person in the audience that would pipe up here is someone who wants to muddy the definition on transphobia so much that transphobic rhetoric, however intentioned, also means that the person who said the statement is in fact a transphobe. From what I can tell, Stephen went into this video doing his due diligence and research, and the evidence that he found led him to his conclusion. It didn't have as much to do with defending an a priori as you could probably think otherwise. So what we have here is a case of improper conclusions being drawn. Now, before I go any further into the story, I need to point out some of the implications here. I will be doing a video to cover this topic a little more in depth later on my channel, but it needs to be stated that one way someone could interpret Stephen's video is as a dog whistle. And I think this is one of the points that Essence of Thought was getting at. The thing is though, usually with a dog whistle, there's an intent. Like when the OK sign is used for white supremacy groups, there is an intent at trying to subtly get more people who already agree with you to come to your side. I truly believe, based on my interactions with Stephen, that he is a good faith actor. So I don't think any attempts at dog whistling were had here. Now, I've heard that there are raids on Discord servers that have been happening where people are citing his video as the inspiration. So yes, I recognize that there are in fact some negative fallouts that have happened from this video. My point though is that I don't think any of that was Stephen's intention, and I think he recognizes that there is damage being done. This is why, after some time, Stephen released a tweet and an identical Facebook post announcing that he would be doing a video where he fixes his mistakes, goes over some of the misconceptions that he's had, and utilizes some of the research that people have brought to bear so that he can create a more accurate video that better reflects the state of affairs. It should also be noted that the Faithless Forum happened, and Stephen has had an opportunity to speak with people directly on this subject. There were a good few trans people in the audience who had an opportunity to confront Stephen directly. This, from what I understand, has been incredibly beneficial to the situation. Moving on ahead in our story, it should be noted that people are starting to get kind of antsy that Rationality Rules has not already released their video. And while this is something I can completely understand, given that their lack of due diligence and research is what caused the issue to begin with, I would imagine saying that the video hasn't come out soon enough doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. If somebody wants to do their due diligence diligence to make sure that they're not treading water so horribly, it seems that taking one's time would be the best thing to do. They've also, since getting some pushback, released a pinned comment on the original video. And while this is something that could have been done much sooner, it was in fact something that was done, and again reinforces the fact that I think that Stephen Woodford is a good faith actor in this. But you know what is not a good faith actor thing to do? Two things. One, and most importantly, let's get into what the atheist community of Austin has done. At the Faithless Forum, it was no secret that this video was a bit of an issue. In fact, the idea that someone might end up starting something at the Faithless Forum because of Rationality Rules video was kind of a looming issue. It was also well established that everyone was going to be going down to Austin to do things at the atheist community of Austin after the Faithless Forum. I wasn't able to go because I had to get back here because, well, 15-hour drives, but it should be noted that Stephen Woodford was shown on multiple episodes at the atheist community of Austin. It was no secret the controversy surrounding Stephen Woodford at this time. It should also be noted that not everyone in the ACA agrees with the statement that was released. So before you start wanting to take your favorite content creator that happens to work there and throw them under the bus, don't. You don't know all the players involved, and neither do I, and the whole point of this video is to show that sometimes jumping with your knee-jerk reactions isn't actually the best way to go about things. Anyways, point is, there was no way that the organization did not know about the controversy surrounding Rationality Rules. They had him on multiple shows, and then after the fact decided to throw him under the bus, and let it be known, that is in fact my opinion of what has happened. The statement that they released is here. If you want to read through it, feel free to pause the video, but there's a lot there, and we already went over it on Hammered Out. But essentially, it's an apology to the trans community for the pain and anguish that they've suffered by having Stephen on their show. Now, let's go ahead and go over how to properly send a message. If you want to send a message that you do not agree with the opinions of the person on your show, that can easily be done before your show, without throwing the person under the bus and with their knowledge. It's as easy as beginning the episode with going, "We're aware of the controversy surrounding this individual. We do not agree with their conclusions, but that topic is entirely separate from the topic of the episode." There. Easily done, clean and simple. Instead, though, what we have is a situation where, regardless of what the ACA intended, we have what seems to be using Rationality Rules for their star power, and then as soon as they catch some heat for using him in such a way, they immediately throw him under the bus with this little bit of covering the ass. If the intended message is that you don't agree with some of the transphobic conclusions in that video, then this was not the way to send that message. The message instead that has been sent is that the ACA is an organization that is willing to use someone for their star power and then throw them under the bus afterwards. I do believe in the principle of charity, so for the same reasons that I know that Stephen did not intend to come off as transphobic in his video, I'm going to go ahead and hedge my bets that this is not the message the ACA was trying to send. However, in both cases, this is in fact the message that was received. So, how do we handle something like this? Well, it's hard to say. The first thing would be for us to have civil disagreement. Unfortunately, based on Twitter, Stephen's basically come under fire from all sides when he has literally said multiple times that he is going to be working on this video. Coming at this from the angle that you're owed this video and that it must come out at the speed in which you require it is not going to do anything to help the situation. Ultimately, where I land on this issue and how it resolves is going to come down to how Stephen handles the video when he makes it. I disagree with his conclusions and his method for the first video, and I can honestly say that the first video definitely caused some harm. But I do think that he is a good faith actor here. Now, there are some things that I don't consider to be good faith acts. These are things like releasing private DMs, or constantly lambasting this person in public because they're not doing it in a time frame that you would have done it or that you would prefer. Those are not things that I consider good faith acts. In fact, they make you come across as being dishonest if you try to do these things. So, just as with Rationality Rules and with the ACA, even if that is not the intent that you're having, that is no less how it reads from the outside in. And if Stephen has to be held accountable for what he didn't intend, but no less what was received, then I think everyone else needs to be held accountable as well. So what's the moral of the story? Well, basically, have some patience. Don't be mad about alarmist rhetoric and then immediately turn into an alarmist right afterwards as your first reaction. Let's see where the story goes. As far as we know, we should have the video within 10 to 20 days. A time frame is something that we weren't given before when people started hammering on him for not coming out with it quick enough, whilst paradoxically arguing that he went into his old video without doing his due diligence and research. So why don't we put the pitchforks down, why don't we turn the torches off, and let's stop trying to burn down Rome, and instead approach this conversation like reasonable individuals. You can have disagreements with people without trying to crucify them publicly, and you can agree with people without circle jerking. Anyway, those are my thoughts on the situation at hand. Hopefully, I've managed to provide at least an angle that you guys can somewhat understand, even if you might not agree with me. I'll see you guys for a more regular video tomorrow. Insert end of video tagline here.